morning, everybody. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. It's hump day. It's one day closer to the weekend where you can sit and chill. How is everybody? Quick weather update. Sunny and mild outside. With a little bit of wind at the moment. But yesterday morning started out super hot. We are carless at the moment. So I walked to the gym, did gym, and then walked back. And the walk back, I'm pretty sure I got burnt along the way because it was so hot. But then the weather completely changed by the afternoon and got colder and started drizzling. So who knows what's going on with the weather. But at least it's cooler. So at the moment, we are prepping all things Easter, because Easter is coming up mid-April, and obviously if I want to sell stuff, I need to try and get ahead of that and get all that kind of stuff out now so that I can start advertising and stuff. So this week I'm prepping all my different Easter treats that I'm putting together, and then I'll have, to take photographs and everything so that I can upload it to my website and post it to my Facebook page and all my other socials. So today, what's happening is, one of the things that we're going to try and do this year is we are going to do what's called a grazing box. And it's a little box, a little open box, which does concern me sometimes. So you get number ones, and there was a heart-shaped one for Valentine's Day, and there's a Christmas tree for Christmas. But we're just going to use the basic square one for Easter. And in it we'll have, basically it's just exactly that. We're going to do a treat box, grazing box. So in it we'll have a whole bunch of different treats in it that can be put in the middle. Say on Easter Sunday, you're having everyone around for dinner, for lunch, and instead of having like ice cream and whatever for dessert, whatever, you pop this grazing box in the center of your table, and everybody just has a little bit of everything. So I've just had a realization to something. So I just had a realization to something, and I possibly should change it. But we'll see. So in the box there, we've decided to put in the box for Easter, we're going to do some cupcakes with little speckled eggs on them. All the decor and stuff I'm going to do on Friday, and put the grazing box together on Friday's live. But today we're going to put cupcakes, we're going to put chocolate brownies. So today I'm going to be making chocolate brownies for the grazing box. Chocolate brownies, we're going to be putting in some iced cookies. So I'll be also doing some cutting cookies so that I can bake them while my oven's on. I'm going to try and do all the baking at the same time. So I'm probably going to put a little bunny head and a little Easter egg, 2 different cookies to put inside the box. I don't know, the whole point of doing it on live on Friday is to see how many of each thing we're going to need to do to put into the grazing box, because I am not sure how many cupcakes we can put in there with how many cookies, how many whatever. So also what we're going to put in there is some little carrot cake pops and some Oreo chocolate coated Oreo cookies, and some speckled eggs. And yeah, we're just going to have, it's going to be a variety box of treats, and we're going to make it look pretty with, for Easter, with all the different little Easter things that make it look like a delicious treat box for Easter. So that's what we're busy with at the moment. And then obviously we have some other things up our sleeves for Easter. And yeah, but for today I'm doing the chocolate brownies. Now I did chocolate brownies last year for Valentine's Day, but I did it when I was still on Twitch, and I didn't do it for YouTube. So I thought today I would do it for YouTube. for my YouTube channel so that it's there and you can watch it and, you know, ask questions, order, whatever. Okay, so I, in the past, have tried numerous different brownie recipes. Oh, let's put some music on. Sorry, guys. Don't want to have it just silent, right? I need some music in the background. So, over. So I've tried multiple brownie recipes. The very first one that I tried actually worked out really well, and then I lost the recipe, and then I tried out a whole bunch of different ones. So a Lindt chocolate one and a whole lot of, where I struggled. I did so many brownies, I had brownies coming out of my ears. So especially trying to work with a brownie pan. But these are so perfect because, you know, these little squares, because this is what we need, you know, so that I don't have to cut them up, then they're not crumbing everywhere. They seal in the freshness because they keep, you know, that hard crust around it and everything. What I have found with this little brownie pan is that you can't just spray and cook it and then bake in it. You have to line every little thing that's in here because one, then you just can't pop the damn things out. And two, they just don't cook as nice. I don't know what it is, but they don't bake as nice. So I think what also happens, so if you've ever noticed that when you're baking cupcakes or a cake, if you fill your, say even with a cake, if you fill your cake tin to like that much before the top, your cake doesn't rise as it should. If you only fill it half and then it's got like that much where it's clear, you know, where you haven't filled it, then the cake seems to have space to rise, and then you get a better rise. Same with cupcakes. You never ever fill the cupcake pan. That I always use muffin cups because they're bigger, and then I always have quite a gap at the top to give it that extra space to rise, and then they rise beautifully. But if your cupcake papers are too small, then you have to put less in so that you can give that extra space for it to rise. I've just realized now that, so we wanted to put cupcakes in the grazing box, and it would probably be ideal to actually make smaller cupcakes rather than big ones. And I'm busy with an order that I'm going to be baking, and I've already prepped it to just put in the oven while I'm busy doing this as well. And had leftover batter, which I thought, okay, I'll just make excess cupcakes. But I've just realized that maybe I should be doing smaller cupcakes for the grazing box, because that might work out way better. So if you just give me a minute, I'm going to go and get some cupcake papers for the Easter treat box so I can make smaller cupcakes. Just for you to see the difference. So this is what they say is a standard cupcake paper. Well, the bases are pretty much the same. You can see the difference in the size of the cupcake. This, you know, you can see, look, there's quite a big gap. Okay, so I always use these ones because then I get a nice decent size. But I think this might, so this, using these cupcake holders will definitely give me a much smaller cupcake. And I've got quite a few of these, and I've got them in 3 different colors. So I think for the Easter thing, it'll be quite nice, because then I can just use a variety of colors in these and just make, and it'll look quite nice. So I'm just going to change that around quickly why not? Just change things. I'm going to be just changing things around a bit. So I've put them already in here. So I'm just going to scoop them out of here so that I can so what I'm going to do is I'm actually not, because then it won't have as much. And I know what this is going to look like, but anyway. But you can see I still leave a huge gap because then it'll give it a chance to rise. If you fill it right to the top, it's not going to have space to rise, which is not what obviously you want. I buy cupcake holders in bulk, so I'm not too stressed about wasting them. And like I say, I've got quite a few of these mini, well, I call these, for me, are small. They're not, for me, they're not a standard cupcake size. You get the mini ones, which I'm going to say is more for couples, that kind of thing. So let's just these are all tucked away in my cupboard, so I just grabbed what I could, but what I will do is probably land up doing, you know, having the whole, using all three different colors, because then it just makes it nice and colorful. Not that you will really see it, I suppose, but yeah, because once they bake, I generally don't do colored cupcakes papers, not very often, because I find that when you bake, they almost lose their color and stuff, you know, when you're baking. So I just stick to white for vanilla and chocolate, brown for chocolate, and that's just the best, because I think with the oils and all of that kind of thing, it just seeps into the paper itself when it bakes. I always land up doing something else. I've just realized that. I always land up doing something else along with whatever it is that I'm supposed to be doing. You know, because like I need to, well, this wasn't going to be in here, but anyway. Wasn't meant to show you this. But like I'm going to be doing cookies, even though the whole thing is about brownies. But you know, it's just what I'll be doing, the cookies while I am waiting for the brownies to cook, you know, to bake. So I need to fill the quiet time of the live. So I mean, this is quite cool. Like I only, with this amount of batter, I got how many, like 9 or 10 big cupcake. You do get, you know, so you can see I'm going to get a lot. I'm going to get a full tray of these smaller ones out of the batter that I'm splitting. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that last one just for my child, because I know what's going to happen. She's going to come home and she's going to ask if there's a cupcake for her. So I'll leave one out for her. And then we can go from there. Because now I don't know how many of these little, we might get, say, 6, which would be really ideal. So ideally, we'd need to try and get, say, maybe at least 6 of each thing into the grazing box. So if we can get, say, 6 cupcakes in a grazing box with 6 cookies, 6 of each thing, sort of, so that it would be enough for everybody to at least share and try out. Technically, it would be something that would be, you know, for a family But let's see. I mean, we'll see on Friday when I put it all together how it will work. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to prep this first because this is always such a nightmare to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm putting a little bit of margarine in here just to help stick the baking paper down. Just so you know, I don't use parchment paper. I don't use normal baking paper. I use silicone baking paper. It is absolutely amazing. It's reusable. Well, I'm going to say reusable. It's reusable when it comes to cookies and stuff. So I can put down the silicone baking paper on a tray for cookies, and I can once I've baked, I can take the cookies off and then put another batch of cookies on the same, so you can actually reuse it for the same thing over and over again, and then when you're completely done you can chuck it. So it really works with you know, nothing sticks. They work really well. Okay, so I'm going to do that just to try and get it to stick, so that the baking paper will stick. And then I'm going to cut strips the size of these, because roughly the size. And then I'm going to, I found when I've done this before, especially with this pan, it really doesn't bake very well unless I do it like this, which is quite, annoying, because it's extra work that you don't really want to have. But, but I will rather do this and get the perfect brownie than not do it, and then then they just flop all around, especially with brownies, because brownies, according to all research that I've done and advice from other people who make brownies, that brownies need to be like a hard crust on the outside and sticky gooey in the middle. It's not meant to be looking like or tasting like stale cake. So I have heard of people using flopped cake, and I kid you not when I say this. I've heard people saying, other bakers saying that they if they've got a flopped cake, they just pop it in the deep freeze for later and make it into brownies, which I think is really not right, because that's not what a brownie is. A brownie is light and fluffy. It doesn't have a lot of flour in it, not like a cake. Has minimal amount of flour. This recipe, by the way, you will be able to get on my Facebook page. I posted it on my Facebook page quite a while back. I think I posted it in 2020. So it is there if you want to go find it to try it out. This one is definitely a simple one, an easy one, and I remember when I made it, it came out quite nicely. Though I did make it in a 20 centimeter square pan, and I didn't do it in this. So we're going to see how it turns out in this. I'm hoping that because it worked out beautifully in a square pan, it's going to work out beautifully in the brownie pan. Because I think even when I was testing out brownies last year, some of them, even in the 20 centimeter pan, didn't really work out. So I think, what I was talking about with the gap, I think where half the thing is that works with this and why it bakes better in here like this is because I'm giving it that extra gap to bake and rise. So I don't cut it right down. I let it stick out a bit. And I'm going to do it the other way around as well. So I think basically what it's doing is that it's giving the brownie that extra space to rise. So it will rise to the top of the pan rather than below the pan. Because you must remember what happens with brownies is it always rises and then collapses. It's the nature of a brownie. It's what brownies do. They rise and they collapse. They don't stay thick and like a cake because it's not a cake. So this is time consuming, but the end result is going to be so much better. So sometimes just, you know, I'm going to say suck it up. and just do this because it does tend to work out better. Just also another thing about brownies, something that I tried out, is that brownies actually freeze well. Can you believe? Can you believe? So if you were making brownies at home or whatever, and you didn't really want to have so much, and you wanted to, like, you know, you'd rather not make it because it's too much, you can actually make it and then have some of it, and then pop the rest in an airtight container and pop it in the deep freeze. They freeze well, and they come out quite nice once you've defrosted them. So, and don't nuke them in the microwave. You know, when you decide to take out the defrosted ones, you just take them out about an hour before you want to have them, and they'll be perfectly fine. There's a lot of things that you can freeze, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It does not change the taste of it or the texture of it. It doesn't. Something I also found out is macaroons. Macaroons you can deep freeze. Can you believe? You can freeze macaroons for up to 3 to 6 months. So, and again, nothing happens to them. Doesn't change the texture or anything. If, however, you feel that it has changed the texture or whatever, it more than likely was already not so great in the first place. So I would say always test it. Try what your brownie or macaroon or whatever it is first, then test it out and deep freeze it for a week and see what it tastes like in a week's time, and then you can make your own decision. But I have found that it definitely does freeze well. Tried it, tested it, works. Obviously, you're not going to freeze to then defrost and then refreeze. That's obviously not what you should do. That's not what you should do with anything. Yeah. The same for cakes and cupcakes. So basically, I'm making like a little cocoon for it, like that. I'm going to make it easier for me to pull out as well once they set. And but yeah, we're gonna get a way better rise out of them, and they're just going to bake better all round. So basically, this would work if you could get square brownie holders. I have not seen square brownie holders, because then that's what I would use. So basically, that's what I'm making. It's a square is a brownie holder, and then obviously we take the baking paper off. But like a cupcake, you know, it's in a cupcake holder. But I don't think you can. I've never seen square holders for brownies, so I don't think that's a thing. Maybe I should make it a thing. If that's even a thing. Too. I mean, if they can come up with a brownie actual baking tray, I don't see why they can't come up with a square brownie cupcake brownie holders, square brownie holders for the brownies to be in. Because that's also what's nice, is that if you can have it in something like a cupcake holder, so that, you know. Also, what I'm going to do this time around as well is, before I pop them out of the tray, so once they're out the oven, I'm going to, you know, leave them for a bit. I'm going to make a not quite a ganache, because I want it to set, but I don't want it to set rock hard. So I'm going to add a little bit of milk, just to make it sort of ganache, so that it's soft when you bite into it. I'm going to top it with chocolate on top, so that I can put some sprinkles to make it nice and festive for Easter, because this is specifically for Easter that I'm doing these. So and I've been I've been told by one of my partners who helped me with all of this, to please make all the colors pastel colors. So I'm like, okay, it's not what I have in my kitchen, but okay. You know, I do everything with kids, and actually love everything bright colored, and I usually do you know, my take on is bright color stuff. So, you know, brightly colored hundreds and thousands. Okay, so we're almost there. And I just want to also make it sure that it's sitting nice and sturdy in here, and that there's no, the batter's not going to get caught in it or anything like that. Let's make this a little bit thinner. So that it fits better. One more. So I'm going to put my oven on to preheat. My oven bakes at a really high temperature, so I put it on to 150. I generally, if you follow me, hello. If you do follow me, you'll know that I always bake at 150. So I always bake at a lower temperature for longer, rather than a high temperature, and then you know, speeding up the baking. Okay, so I'm just going to put that aside, so that we can do our recipe. Okay, so our recipe calls for I need to boil pickle. So the recipe calls for us to basically, like melting chocolate, sorry, in a double boiler. So we're going to put that on the side, And so I'm going to put hot water in here, and then we're going to melt 150 grams of unsalted butter. Where is my other? I just had it. Underneath here. Okay, so we're going to do 185 grams of unsalted butter, which I'm going to measure out here and pop onto here. 185, I think this is exact actually. Oh, too much. Okay, so 185 grams of unsalted butter, which I'm going to pop into here. And then we're going to put 185 grams of dark chocolate. So I've got milk chocolate, white chocolate, dark chocolate all here. You can use baking chocolate, as in, good quality baking chocolate, or you can go out and buy, what I call real chocolate, the likes of Cadbury's and whatever. But because I bake, I've got this chocolate, so this is what I use, and it's just as delicious. So what we're going to do is we're going to melt these two together over hot water, as if we were doing normal chocolate melting. So I'm just going to wait for the sorry, I haven't done this recipe in a while, so I have to follow the recipe. I don't know it off by heart. And then in the bowl, we're going to sift. We're going to sift together flour and the cocoa. So we need to do 40 grams of of cocoa. Reset. There we go. 40 grams. So 40 grams of cocoa is quite a lot, because cocoa doesn't weigh a lot. Okay. Put aside. And then 85 grams of cake flour. So it's not a lot of flour. You can see it's not a huge quantity. Grams of that. We're going to sift in here. So when I do recipes that I don't do on a regular basis, or for the first time, I follow them to the T. I don't change them or anything. Once I've gotten used to the recipe, then I start to fiddle and change and work out what might not be. So if it doesn't work out, following it to a T, then I'll change. Or I'll just give up. I'll just give up on it. Yeah, so there's some recipes that, just, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Okay. I'm going to pop that on here like that. And we're going to leave that to melt. While that's melting, I'm going to chop up some chocolate. Okay, so let's move this along. Let's put that along there, and I'll just move this out of the way. Okay, so we are going to need 50 grams of white chocolate, 50 grams of white chocolate, which we're going to chop up. And 50 grams of milk chocolate. Okay. So this is going to go into our mix. Almost like chocolate chips, really. So always, when you're melting chocolate and that, you always got to keep stirring it. Otherwise, it won't actually melt. It will just sit and stay cool on top. And you just got to keep stirring it and keep it going. Okay. So I'm going to chop these into chunks. So you can use, like I say, you can use any chocolate that you want. Be it real chocolate, like a white milky bar, or that's fine. Or you can use baking chocolate, like I am. Still gonna taste just as good. Honestly, when I was doing it between I did, probably not a good thing to say this, but anyway, when I was testing out the Lindt chocolate recipe last year. I made the exact same recipe, but with this baking chocolate, and you couldn't tell the difference between Lindt. You wouldn't know the difference between the Lindt chocolate brownie or this chocolate. It was still extremely decadent and delicious. So either way, it was really good. I tried it both ways to see what the difference would be like. Because obviously Lindt is expensive. Yeah. So it's just roughly chopped. You don't have to have it perfectly chopped, because basically this is going to go into the batter, and then you're going to have these little pockets of melted chocolate. Okay. And then we got three large eggs and 275 grams of caster sugar. So I've got my 3 large eggs here. I'm just going to pop them in there so they don't roll off the table. And then I'm going to put caster sugar. Um, 275. So it's got quite a lot of sugar in, now that I think about it. But what Easter is all about, chocolate and sweeties and treats, and no, it's not really all about that, but that's what I suppose has been made. Society has made us into being about chocolate hunting and treats, and it's a feast. So what we're doing here is we're melting all of that. So also one of the reasons why we're doing this over hot water like this is that it's hot enough for it to be melting. Okay, as you can see, melting nicely, but it's not going to be so hot that now you're going to wait like 20 minutes to cool, because we need to this needs to be cool. So even to touch, this won't be hot, even though it is melting and stuff. It won't be hot to touch. So what we're going to do is we're going to beat the caster sugar and the eggs together, so they're light and fluffy. And I'll switch my mic off then, because obviously the mix is quite loud, unless you want it for ASMR. But yeah. So it says to beat the eggs and caster sugar till thick and fluffy with an electric beater. And then you pour the cooled chocolate into the egg mixture and you gently fold it together with a spatula, ensuring not to overmix and to keep the mixture thick and fluffy in a figure of 8 until, so basically the same way you would do macaroons, as far as I understand, until it is a nice brown. Then you'll add the cocoa flour mix to the chocolate mix, gently folding it so that it is mixed nicely. And then you'll stir in chunks of white chocolate and milk chocolate, and then we pour it into our tin. And they say to bake for 25 minutes. So now you see that there's a trick to baking brownies. So now I've got to be careful, because I'm not baking it in one big tin like it's saying here. So I can't necessarily bake it for 25 minutes, because now they're in separate little things, so it's less energy, and you know, it's going to need less time to cook, because it's not all in one thing, if that makes sense. So like baking cupcakes is way quicker than baking a cake. So the thing is, what they say is that you should bake it, and then to check if the brownies are cooked, shake the tin gently, and if the middle shakes, put it back into the oven for another 5 to 10 minutes. So if you're doing it in a big square pan, that's what you would do. So you bake it for 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Then you'd shake the tin to see if the center is wobbling. And if it's wobbling, you'll bake it for another 5 to 10 minutes. They say brownies will be done when the center is not wobbly and the sides come away from the tin. Leave your brownie to cool in the tin. Don't take it out. And then your brownie will be crusty on the outside and should be thick and gooey on the inside. So this is almost done. I'm just gonna, you see it's not even hot. Okay, so while that's almost done, I'm gonna leave it there. Actually, I'm gonna take this off the hot water, because I want it to cool down. Because, you know, I need this last bit of butter to melt, which it will while it's sitting here, but at the same time I need this to cool down. Okay, so I'm going to just switch off my microphone so that we don't hear this very annoying mixer. We're gonna beat the eggs and sugar together, the caster sugar. Okay. Right, so let's move that over. Okay. Okay, so that should be good. It's fairly thick and fluffy. So I'm going to say beat it for between 5 or so minutes. So even with my my cake recipe requires me to beat exactly like this to get it nice and thick and fluffy for 10 minutes. So I'm just making sure that there's no lumps. There's just that little bit of margarine, butter left behind in here. Okay. And then we're going to empty this out. And I'm not going to, when I melt the chocolate, I'm actually not going to clean this. I'm going to use the same thing because it's not going to make any difference. Because I'm going to be putting a little bit of milk in it anyway. So we'll pour that in there. And then we're going to try our best not to over mix it. And we're going to do it in a figure of 8. So basically, we're folding it. And I know I've tried to make macaroons once. I feel like maybe I should try again now. And it's the same method where you must mix it in a figure of 8 to not over, so that you don't over mix it. And with the spatula. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I'm not going to mix it any more than that because so it's not, it's mixed in, because we're going to mix some more anyway with flour, and because I don't want to over mix it. Okay, so then we're going to pop this all in here, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to try and mix it in nicely so that sorry, I've just realized something is happening and we are losing focus. There we go. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to mix it into a figure of 8 to fold it in nicely so that we keep in the air, keep it nice and fluffy. So we'll do this until it's fully mixed in. Scrape the sides so that everything is in. And my mixer has this weird little bump in the center, so I have to make sure I get in there nicely, or else something accumulates at the bottom. Okay, so look at that, super thick and fluffy. So we're going to add the chocolate, but all we're going to do with the chocolate is just give it a good, swirl kind of thing. I'm going to try and spread it around rather than, because I don't want to mix it any more than I need to. So I'm just going to just give it like a serious little, just a swirl like that, so that we know that it's all over. Again, I haven't done this recipe in these mini trays, in this tray before, so not too sure if I'll get a full tray or not. Okay, so I'm going to use an ice cream scoop as my measurement. I generally use an ice cream scoop as a measurement. I have another one that I always use for my cupcakes, but I almost want to just have a one-time scoop for this, because I don't, just watch out for that. So it's not actually a full scoop. This is how I like to measure things. If you use a scoop, then you can kind of work out how much you will get roughly if it's nice and even. So I'm just making it nice and flat so that I can make sure of. So I'm actually only getting only putting in half a scoop because it's sticking, but that's fine. It's probably perfect, the amount that I'm getting out here, because we want them to be all the same size and equal. I do have a smaller scoop. I probably should use the smaller scoop. Okay. This definitely looks way better from what I can remember. I haven't made brownies, like I say, in a year. I haven't made them since last year. So this recipe is looking way better than my previous recipe that I've tried. But this was my very first brownie recipe that I tried, and then I couldn't find the recipe. And then I found it, and then I was like, well, I'm going to use this recipe rather than the other ones that I had tried last year. I had made it for a friend of mine for his birthday. Was it for his birthday? Yes, it was, I think so. So what you'll see is that there's chunks of white chocolate. And in, the idea is that obviously when you break it open, you're actually going to see those white chocolates. So now I've still got a lot of batter left. So now, we're going to find out if it's going to be okay, if it just sits, if the batter sits. So here's the thing, is that some recipes don't really work very well if they sit for too long with, so I have a carrot cake recipe so there's quite a bit here still. So you'll see I've still got quite a bit in here, probably enough for about maybe 5 or 6 more brownies. I'm just going to put that aside, because now the problem is I only have one tray. I only have one brownie tray. This is one of the most expensive trays I've ever bought. I don't know why it's so expensive, but it is. Not like a cupcake tray. Probably because it's not that popular. So there's only 12 here, and I probably get another, I would say between 4 and 6, another 4 and 6 brownies. But I need to have these cooled down completely before I can take them out and bake those, which is a bit of a problem because that is quite a long time in between baking. So that could prove to be a bit of a problem, but we'll see. Okay, so I'm going to pop these into the oven. They say 20 minutes. So it is 25 past. So what's it? 20 to 25 minutes. So 1:45, 10:02, we will check them. Between 1:45 and 10:02, we'll check them. And I'm also going to pop in my cake and my cupcakes that I need to do for an order. And then I'm going to cut cookies. So here's the thing: is like my cake recipe. I can actually, which I've just done this morning. I made the batter and everything, prepped all the tins, put the batter in all the tins and the cupcakes, as you saw, and it's been sitting this whole time, and it won't affect the baking of this of my cake at all. But I know that I have a carrot cake recipe, and that recipe, if I leave it to stand, the carrot cake does not bake very well at all. So when I do my carrot cake, I have to, if I'm doing multiple cakes, it has to be the last cake I do, and I've got to mix it, put it in the tins, and bake it. I can't be waiting. There can't be any waiting for it, which can be quite a problem. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a mix of white. I'm going to do a mix of white. The reason why I'm going to do a mix of white and milk chocolate is because it just makes that milk chocolate a little bit creamier. It'll still come out as if it's milk chocolate. I'm not going to do a lot with that because I need to get it on all these. I need to do it on all these brownies. Maybe I must just put a little bit more white in. Okay, so I'm going to melt that in the meantime. I'll just leave that to melt. I actually need to heat up the water again. Okay, but then in the meantime, what I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly wash my hands, and then we're going to cut some cookies. While we are waiting, cut the cookies. I just want to move my machine. So I've already got cookie dough. Again, something else that can be frozen and comes out perfectly fine. Doesn't have any issues with being frozen. And I'm going to, as always, I'm going to roll this in between two pieces of silicone baking paper so that it rolls nicely. So this is also why the silicone baking paper is really, really nice, because this is also effectively a way that it is reused. My roller. Okay. I'm just gonna, so I'm turning it over because of the curly bits. And by turning it over, it will stop the curling. Okay. Just to get it a bit flat before rolling. And because I am a short person and I generally need a stool, and I don't have one anymore, I used to have one. So I'm just going to use all this cookie dough, and I'm going to make as many cookies as I can, because like I said, I don't know how many cookies I'm going to need to make for the grazing box. So what's difficult also about brownies is because it's meant to be soft and gooey, and that you put chocolate pieces in it. It's sometimes quite difficult to work out if it is cooked, because you can't do what you would normally do with cake. So normally with cake is you would put a skewer in, and if batter comes out, then it's not cooked, and if it comes out clean, then it is cooked. So you would do the same with chocolate brownies, but obviously it's a little bit harder to judge, because then you've got the gooey chocolate bit of it that does still come out with the. You've got to kind of go, that's not batter. So yes, it's cooked. It's when it's batter that sticks to it, then it's not cooked. Always make the cookies roughly, roughly what? About 4 millimeters thick. Okay. I'm just going to bring the tray over here so that I can lift them off onto the tray. So basically when all that in there is done, I can just pop these straight into the oven, because I don't like my oven being on longer than it needs to be, or unnecessarily. So if I'm baking today, then everything gets baked today. Unless I have no other choice. Okay, so we are wanting to do bunny ears for the grazing box and small eggs, which we are wanting to do at least 6, I would think, of each. So let's see if we can get at least 6 of each. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 6. These I only need 1 of each because I need them for as a sample. I don't need them for anything else. So I'm putting a basket together of about 4 different treats. So like a little treat box. And I do the treat boxes at Halloween time. And I was meant to do it for Christmas this year, and I didn't last year, but I will do it. I will try and be on the ball this year and get it done ahead of time, so that I can have treat boxes for Christmas. But I generally I try and make it a cost-effective little treat box for kids, and make it a treat. And it only has 4 treats in it. So this year's treat box possibly going to have a smash egg, 2 cookies, what's the other thing? I'm not doing marshmallow eggs this year like I did last year, because I'm struggling with the recipe, so possibly need to find a new one. But doing marshmallows is quite a it's a challenge, to say the least. So So all these smaller ones are going to go into the grazing box. Smaller eggs and the small bunny. And then this is going to go into my treat box. And then we're going to be doing Oreo, chocolate dipped Oreos. Okay, so I'm going to roll some more. I want to finish all of this. I'm not going to, get rid of it. Don't like to waste. Don't waste unless it's absolutely necessary. So we've got about another 10 minutes before I can even look at it. Don't want to open the oven. I don't want to open the oven unnecessarily. Not that that actually makes, I don't know if you know that. If you're baking and there's always been this thing that you shouldn't open the oven because it lets out the heat. So what you should do, so you can open the oven in the middle of baking. Your cake won't actually flop. So long as your room is at room temperature that you're baking in, and you make sure that all the doors are closed and stuff, so that basically your kitchen is not as hot as the oven, obviously, but it's not freezing in here compared to your oven kind of thing. And you'll be able to open up the door and it won't flop. I do it all the time. But I never open the door for at least the first 20 minutes anyway, because there's no point in opening it until it's almost baked anyway. That goes for cakes, cupcakes, brownies, any of them. And you have to be able to open the door to check. So, I can smell them. I can smell something's baked. Something is baked. Okay. So I'm just going to cut more of these just in case I'm going to end up needing more of these for this grazing box. Why that's not cutting properly down the center. So the ears are not cutting properly. That's better. Okay, I can smell something, so I'm just going to check what it is that I'm smelling. My cupcakes are ready. Okay. So these are ready, and that's what I could smell. But my cake and the brownies are not ready. But the brownies look like they are almost ready, and it's been 20 minutes. No, it hasn't. It's been 15. So probably 5 more minutes, They look pretty much almost ready. They're just slightly wobbly. They're looking good though. So I'll be super happy if they come out really nice. So what we're gonna see is if the batter of the brownie, the leftover batter, if it has an issue with it being with it standing before being baked. But I have a feeling it won't be. In fact, it might help it. Sometimes it helps and sometimes it doesn't. Oh, just a squeeze. Squeeze it in. Eggs. My daughter was here. She'd be asking for the cookie dough to be able to eat it. But it's why I do this when she's not here. I just need to move these over there. Make some space. And I have to be super gentle with these bunny ears because they can break quite easily. To get an extra last bit of, I think, 1 or 2 more cookies, and then we can pop these in the oven. And I can smell, I think, between my big cupcake and the brownies, they should be almost ready. So I as you can see, I'm trying to time it, but I don't really go according to the time. I go according to if I can smell it or not. So should just do one of those. Okay. Right, can't do much with this little bit. My daughter will be happy to be able to eat that later when she gets home. Okay. So, those are my cookies done. Take on my chocolates. So I'm going to add a little bit of milk to this so that I can make it into not a runny ganache, but basically it's going to be like some solid chocolate, except just making it like a little bit of a ganache kind of helps it and makes it taste better. That's also almost ready. Okay, so then let's have a look at my brownies. I think my lone cupcake that was in there is ready as well. Oh, look at with these brownies. Oh my God. I don't know. Do I take them out yet or not? I think they are ready. Okay. So brownies, okay, we know the nature of brownies, right? Brownies rise and brownies collapse. Just want to put my cookies in. So brownies rise and brownies collapse, right? This is the nature of brownies. So it's quite like it can be quite scary with brownies, because now, so what you're seeing here, I don't know if you can see it. Let me put this at an angle. It's pretty hot. So what you can see here, that you're going to see, these have started to collapse, but these they're collapsing, but not to the extent that these are. So I'm not sure if that's got anything to do with it being in the center of the brownie pan. So this one looks like it's just a cup. So this is my issue with brownies, is that I need them all to be perfect like this, where they rise and collapse at the same level. And they don't do that. This one has risen along the side and totally collapsed in the center. If there's a brownie expert out there, please contact me so that I know if this is right or wrong. I have no doubt that they taste delicious. That is not an issue. But I do know that this rising and collapsing is the nature of brownies. What I am going to do is, when I bake the rest of those, I'm only going to bake in the center, these 6, which is quite ridiculous. But if that is what's going to allow these to bake nicely and consistently, then that's what I'm going to end up doing. Because I can bake in a 20 centimeter square pan, right? And then cut it up. And then what? Then the sides will come out perfectly fine. And then the center's not. The centers will look like this and that. So no matter which method I do it, it's still going. And then on top of it, when you cut it, you're going to have those crumbs. Whereas this, once it's cooled, it's going to be crusty all round, which is way nicer for having to pick it up from something. Yeah, brownies confuse me though, because of this, you know, like this, I feel like I can't even use it. I'm not going to be able to use it. I'm not sure. So the idea is that because it does this, okay, I want to put chocolate on top for it to set, so that it goes flat, so that it looks like something, instead of this, where it looks like it's cake that has flopped. Because it's not cake that's flopped. This is the nature of brownies. This is the way, because there's a huge amount of egg and sugar in comparison to the amount of flour. I'm going to have a look to see. Bearing in mind, these are all test runs, eh? So, you know. And I know some people are going to go, we don't actually care how it looks. But other people will. So I'm going to just move that down. It's like this thin layer. So that I want to be able to save this. I don't want it to I have an idea. That's why I'm doing this. I'm not going to be doing this on all of them. I'm doing it on the ones that are a little too high. When I do the next lot, once this is cooled down, I'm actually going to pop these into the fridge to try and cool it down quicker. So what I did is when I put these in to here, I spread them around, remember, to even it out. I'm actually not going to do that with the next lot because I don't know if maybe that makes a difference because it spreads like that. So if I just make a blob in the center, it will spread on its own. Much like when you're doing a cookie, some not sugar cookies, but some cookies that you make, you just do a blob, you just do a ball, and it will spread and become flat. So I have a feeling that this is very much the same. So I'm going to test that out now. Once I can take these out, because I can't take these out yet. They're too hot. They look super gooey and delicious though. Super, super gooey. This is not raw. It's just because it's still hot and it got melted chocolate. So I'm just going to pull the edges down a bit. So we're not wasting and we don't have this great gaping hole. Now, I might just do it with all of them. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to, while it's still hot like this, I'm going to pour the melted chocolate on top to make it flat. So basically what's going to happen is that the melted chocolate's going to fill in the gaps where it's sunken in. I didn't do that one. So I'm just folding the sides down because they've just, pulled up to the side. So weird. So very weird that it's done this. But I think like I say, I think it's the nature of brownies, the way they are, the way they bake. But I am no brownie expert. That is for sure. Definitely not a brownie expert at all. The first time I ever baked brownies was when I baked this recipe in 2020 for a friend. So definitely not an expert at this. But I think that's obviously why everybody likes watching me, that I do stuff for the first time. And then I come up with plans. Okay. This one came out perfect, actually. So weird. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, super hot. Let's finish melting this chocolate. And I'm just going to add a little bit of milk to it because I don't want, so the idea is that I don't want this to set, I don't want it to set completely hard, like a hard chocolate. I need it to set so that it's soft, so that when you bite into it, it's softish. But I'm not using cream because I don't need to use cream. I can use cream, but I don't need to. I can use milk. Milk is perfectly fine. So this will still harden, but the point is that when you bite into it, it's going to feel a little softer. And now, thirdly, so the oil is separating chocolate. The oil separating from the chocolate. So I'm just going to add a little bit of oil, which will bring it back together. And adding oil to chocolate is not going to take, hello, it's not going to change the consistency of it. It just, all it does is, one, it actually changes the taste to a better taste. But combines it more. And you've got to do this all on heat so that it's, you can't see anything that I'm doing because I'm on the side. So, guys. So you can see it looking like, don't get scared with chocolate when it does this. Just keep mixing it on the heat. And it will come right. So it's gone all thick like this because of the milk. Because I only put a little bit of milk in. And not a lot. What is mine? What are you doing? Sorry. Woo! Enough. Okay. So. And also, my milk is cold, which is what will do this to it. But that's why I just keep it on the heat. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to melt some white chocolate later, and I'm going to drizzle it on top so that I can put my sprinkles on top to make it, you know, for my decor, to make it look pretty. Let's just check my cookies. My cookies will cook way faster than anything else in this oven because it's thinner. Between the cookies and the cake, they are a few minutes away from being done. Okay, that's fine. It's coming out nice. Better now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop another spoon, and we're just going to, I'm going to cover this whole thing so that it can flatten out. So once this ganache has been in the fridge, this will actually set like normal chocolate. And it'll be, should be fairly hard. So I'm trying to cover up the fact that the brownies collapse like this. But it's, like I say, it's the nature of the brownies, and I'm doing it, you know, I think a lot of people do this because then it just looks neater and looks nicer. And then it just adds that extra oomph to the chocolate brownie, having the having this on it. It just flattens it out. It's going to look so much nicer. Really is. So I'm going to finish this up and put it in the fridge and then be done with it. My cookies are done, my cake is done, everything is done. Sorry guys. Yeah, so that's all done that I need done. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to finish up here. This is what I was saying. I'm going to finish up here. I'm going to pop these in the fridge because I want them to cool down way quicker. Then, oh! That just pulled over like that. Okay. Way quicker than I, because I need to put that next batch in there because of my oven being hot. I don't need my oven cooling down. I want to get the other, I don't want to have to switch on my oven again just to come back and bake the rest of, now I'm just making a mess with this chocolate. I don't want to have to switch on my oven again. So, let's just finish here. Oh, messing. It's the chocolate has been all gooey, which is really strange. Sure, I've made just enough to do these 12. Obviously I don't want this also to be super thick, but obviously it's going to fill in the gaps. So in the areas that it is quite low is where it's going to really fill in. So there's going to be like this, I suppose, a chunk of chocolate, but I don't think anyone's going to complain, to be honest. Definitely no kid will complain. All they know is it's chocolate, and it's, like, my daughter doesn't know the difference between a chocolate brownie and a cake. She just thinks it's all the same thing. And I think also when you do it like this, you can do all sorts of things. So now if you wanted to, you could sprinkle nuts on top and, all that kind of stuff. So I because I'm trying to make it nice and festive for Easter, I'm going to leave this to harden up, and then I'm going to do a drizzle of white chocolate with sprinkles. That's what I'm going to do. Anyway, guys, that is me done for today. Chocolate brownies done. I'm going to pop these into the fridge so that they can set, so I can get them out quicker. And then, yeah, check out my Facebook page. I will post a picture of what it looks like later on today. Anyway, guys, have a fantastic day, and I will see you on Friday morning for the grazing box that I'm going to be putting together. Bye.